Hello, everyone. My name is Miranda, and I will be your Enchantress of Avalon, taking you on a magical and mystical journey into the lands of enchantment and into Avalon. And for this week's video, I wanted to continue a bit of what I was talking about last week, which is the Norse goddess Freya. And I know I only got to cover the question over whether Freya and Frigg are the same goddess or different goddesses in the last video. So, for this video, I want to go over a little bit more of her in pertaining to things that are associated with her. So, first off, the most obvious thing to say Freya is known for being associated with is cats. She is a cat goddess, and they are her sacred animal. Well, one of. She has other sacred animals, but they're her primary one. And I actually have my cat right next to me as I'm talking about this. And if you look at my little Freya statue, you will see she is accompanied by a cat. She also had a chariot that was pulled by cats, so they were her sacred animal. And as I mentioned last week, that she was a protectress of wives and mothers, this extended to a tradition in Norse culture, which I really love. And that tradition was that upon marriage, new brides were given cats as presents, and they were symbols of Freya. And it was a way of showing Freya's blessing of the marriage. And I think that that's an absolutely lovely tradition. And it's like, awesome. I'd want a cat for my wedding. And I also want to mention on a personal note, I actually got my cat only a few days after getting, it was only maybe a week. It was about a week after I got engaged to my husband. And it was a friend of mine from work had found her. She was a stray that was abandoned. And we don't know if she had an owner before us, but she'd been abandoned or she was a stray and she was found in this building. And my friend from work knew that we had wanted a cat for a while, but we just hadn't had a chance to find one. And she asked me if I wanted this cat, and that is how she came to us. And then, of course, we got her all of her vaccinations and got her fixed and everything. And she has been ours ever since. But it was like fate that she was meant to be ours. And when it happened right after we got engaged, I just thought that this was, a gift from Freya. It felt like that, and it was really perfectly timed. So, in a way, I did get a cat for my marriage, although I got her when I was right after I got engaged, as opposed to my actual wedding. And so that is her love and love of cats and her them being her sacred animal. She also has a falcon feather cloak that gives the wearer all sorts of magical abilities, and in that way she's also associated with falcons being a bird that are sacred to her. And the other animal association would be a sow, a female pig, and that is because she is known to have a battle sow, just like her brother Freya has a battle boar named Gilmbursti. So that association. And also pigs are associated with fertility, which makes sense for a fertility god and goddess to have pigs as one of their associations. Beyond that, she also has some things that are sacred to her, like her necklace. She has her necklace, which is named Brisingamen. I'm never sure if I'm saying it correctly. If I mispronounced it and someone knows the actual pronunciation, please correct me in the comments. But it was this amazing, gorgeous necklace. And that's actually the fire jewel that's being referred to in the title of this book, which I did show you in the last video. And it was, according to the myths that we have, it's said that she actually slept with the dwarves that made the necklace in order to gain it. And this is often thought by scholars to have been something that was added in by the Christians. She was likely gifted the necklace because of her status as the leading goddess of the pantheon. But it is believed that Christians that when Christianity was spreading, that the Christian monks who were writing these myths down were trying to cast a shadow on Freya's name. So they made her out to be much more sexually promiscuous than she would have been otherwise. Although she is a goddess of sexuality, so there is that also. But we have other myths that just completely derail this whole idea that she would sleep with anyone. Like the myth of when Loki loses Thor's hammer and they have to get it back. And the giant that has the hammer says that he'll only give it back if he gets to marry Freya. And Freya's like, no, fuck that. I'm not marrying that guy. This is not happening. And so Loki and Thor are in a bit of a bind. So they decide they're going to dress up as Freya and a handmaiden, respectively. Well, sorry. Thor dressed up as Freya and Loki dressed up as a handmaiden. Yep. They cross-dressed. It's like Some Like It Hot Norse version. And they go into this wedding and are eventually able to get the hammer back. But it's comic hijinks that ensue before they're able to get the hammer back. Yeah, so there's certainly an association with her having a lot of sex, but her sleeping with just anyone is not something that's found in the majority of the mythos. And also when Loki is kind of throwing a tantrum and he's insulting everyone and in front of the gods at this feast, and he talks about how Freya has slept with everyone that's there, a lot of people seem insulted by this. And that's another way that we could look at it, that, well, why would they be insulted if it was true? We do have to remember that when we're looking at the Norse myths and the Celtic myths, they were purely oral traditions until they were written down in the very early Middle Ages, essentially. Because I believe the first written accounts we have for Norse is around the 900s, which is going right into the Middle Ages. And the first written accounts for most of the Celtic myths are around the 10 and 1100s. So these are ancient traditions that were passed down as oral traditions for centuries, maybe over a millennia, before they were written down. And by the time they were written down, Christianity was already there. And the people writing them down were Christian clerics. So they're going to have their own beliefs and their own judgments that are going to impact how these particular myths are going to be presented by them. So I did want to note that. And personally, I have no issue with, and I don't think there's anything wrong with Freya having been sexually promiscuous and having really embraced her sexuality. I think it's a good thing. We shouldn't be scared of embracing our sexuality as women or as people in general. I don't care who you are. We should honor our sexual desires, and as long as it's consensual between partners, there's nothing wrong with that. Do what you will. As long as you're not hurting yourself and others, do what you will. So that's my view on the judgment of Freya for sexuality. She also, I have to note, is a goddess of magic, which I did say in the first video. She actually brought a form of magic called Sidir to the Norse people, and she was the one who is said to have trained Volvas, who were the witches of the Norse people. And she trained all these women in sacred magical rites. And she also trained Odin. Odin wanted to know this type of magic, and he's one of the few men that actually knew this type of magic. It was primarily female based, but Odin wanted to know it, it being the All Father and having knowledge be so sacred to him. He wanted to know as much as possible, so she taught it to him as well. And I think that's pretty badass that she's not only a goddess of witchcraft, but she actually taught a specific type of magic and prophecy to an entire race of people. She brought it to them. I think that's absolutely incredible. So that about ends what I wanted to cover with the second Freya video. And I hope that you have enjoyed watching. And please like, subscribe, and check out my Twitch channel, which is Avalon Enchant on twitch.tv, if you want to see some live streams and past live streams of me talking about similar topics. And if you live stream, you can obviously comment as long as you have an account on Twitch. And also, don't hesitate to go over to my blog and read what I have written. I have written quite a bit about Freya, as well as all the other goddesses I've covered thus far. I've written quite extensively about, or at least a few times about each. And I will definitely write more about them. And I plan on doing more videos about goddesses, and especially about the goddesses I've already covered. So there will definitely be a lot more about Morgan Le Fay, more about Rhiannon, more about Freya, more about Blodeuwedd, and I hope that you're enjoying this. So again, go over to my blog, whiteroseofavalon.life, if you want to read, and please comment and follow. I always love hearing from my readers and viewers. So I hope you have a fabulous Sunday, and I will see you next week.